Hello and welcome back. We are continuing our journey through a book that has been, well, quietly shaping the minds of movers and shakers for well over a century.
It really has.
We are digging into Ralph Waldo Trine's In Tune with the Infinite. This is our fifth session in this series, and I have to be honest with you.
Oh,
I was a little hesitant about today's topic.
hesitant. Why is that?
Because we are tackling a word that is probably the most used and yet maybe the most misunderstood word in the human language. We are talking about love.
Right.
And frankly, when I see that word in a philosophical text from the 19th century, my skepticism radar, it just goes way up.
I get that.
I start expecting, poetry or sentimentality or something that belongs on a greeting card, not in a strategy session for life.
It is certainly a word that carries a lot of baggage. And if we were talking about romance or just being nice for the sake of being nice, I would completely agree with you.
But that's not what this is.
But that is not what Ralph Waldo Trine is talking about here.
Yep.
Not at all.
Right, and that is the only reason I didn't skip this chapter. We are unpacking the secret power and effects of love.
Yes.
But before anyone rolls their eyes or, reaches for the skip button thinking we are about to launch into a soft-focus romance novel, let me just stop you right there.
Please do.
This is not about sentimentality.
No.
It is not about being a doormat.
No, absolutely not. In fact, if you walk away from this discussion thinking you should be a doormat, we have failed.
Yeah.
Miserably.
Exactly. We are looking at Trine's definition of love as a structural force.
A structural force. I like that.
We are talking about engineering for the human spirit. We are looking at goodwill, inner harmony, and steady strength as actual power sources, almost like electricity or gravity. If this episode helps you, please hit like and subscribe for the next one.
Think of it less like a Valentine's Day card and more like the laws of physics.
The laws of physics.
That is the frame we need to hold for this conversation.
So let's set the stage. When we hear the word love in modern culture, we almost always think of an emotion, a reaction. You fall in love. It happens to you. It is a feeling that washes over you, usually dependent on how someone else is treating you or how attractive they are.
It's passive.
It is entirely passive. It is something you wait for.
Right. But Ralph Waldo Trine is coming at this from a completely different angle. For Trine, love is not an emotion you fall into. It is a law you align with.
A law.
He views it as a law of the universe, as reliable as gravity or chemistry.
Okay, I want to push back on that immediately because gravity is measurable.
Sure.
If I step off a building, I fall. Whether I believe in gravity or not, are we really saying goodwill carries that same kind of tangible weight?
That is the million-dollar question.
Or is Trine just using a nice metaphor to make us behave better?
Well, he argues it is literal. He argues that there's a spirit of infinite life that animates the universe, and the nature of that spirit is harmony and connection.
Okay, spirit of infinite life. Let's translate that.
Right. Stripping away the Victorian language, he is describing a system that seeks homeostasis, balance. When we align ourselves with that harmony, which he calls love, we are tapping into a power source. When we align ourselves against it through hate, resentment, judgment, we are cutting ourselves off from that power.
So it's a form of, what did you call it? Spiritual physics.
Spiritual physics. It sounds good, but let's ground it.
Yeah.
In our research for this, we looked at some supplementary material on neurobiology, specifically the nervous system, the vagus nerve.
Right.
Does this 19th century mysticism actually line up with 21st century biology?
Or are we just looking for patterns that aren't there?
And the overlap is, well, startling. It's almost uncomfortable.
Fair so.
What Trine called spirit or vital force, modern science often maps directly to the regulation of our autonomic nervous system. When Trine talks about love stopping energy leaks, he is describing almost perfectly the biological cost of being stuck in the fight or flight response.
So the mission for this session, really, is to translate love from a mystical energy into a practical tool.
A biological tool, even.
A tool for biological regulation. We want to see how using this tool stops us from leaking energy and helps us build what we are calling a sovereign self.
A self that isn't constantly being knocked around by other people's bad moods.
Right. A self that is engineered for stability.
That is the goal.
Okay, let's get into the mechanics of this. And I want to start with the opposite because I think it is easier for us to identify with.
Good idea. The negative space.
Trine spends a lot of time talking about the dangers of hatred, resentment, and criticism. He describes them as dangerous. Not bad in a moral sense, but dangerous in a survival sense. Why?
This brings us to what I like to call the boomerang effect.
Oh, boomerang effect.
Trine operates on the principle of reciprocity. He says thoughts are forces. He believes that every thought you generate is a release of energy into the world.
A force?
And the law of the universe, in his view, is that like builds like and like attracts like.
Okay, but isn't that just the secret? Isn't that just manifesting? Because if I am sitting in traffic hating the guy who cut me off,
Yeah.
I am not necessarily attracting more traffic. I am just angry.
You might not be attracting more traffic, but you are generating a specific frequency of energy, a force of malice.
Right.
Trine argues that this force goes out, but because of the nature of the interconnected universe, it circles back. You become the first victim of your own weapon.
The boomerang.
He says when you send out hatred, it acts like a boomerang that hits the thrower.
And I think we have all felt that, but I want to get specific about the damage. Trine uses a very vivid phrase. He talks about a bodily thunderstorm.
Yes. He describes anger and resentment as setting up a bodily thunderstorm within the organism.
Which is such a great image.
It's perfect. And
Yeah.
he wrote this way before we had fMRI machines or cortisol swabs, but
Yeah.
he talks about how these emotions create poisonous secretions that corrode the body.
Poisonous secretions. That sounds so dramatic, but when we look at the modern research on the HPA axis, the hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal axis, he was basically right, wasn't he?
He was chemically accurate. It's incredible. Let's look at the mechanism.
Okay.
When you sit there stewing about your boss or replaying an argument with your spouse, your amygdala, your lizard brain,
The alarm system.
the alarm system, it cannot tell the difference between that memory and a tiger standing in front of you. It triggers the alarm.
And your body just floods with
Cortisol
cortisol.
and norepinephrine, the classic stress cocktail.
And those chemicals are designed to help you run or fight.
Exactly. They shut down your digestion, they suppress your immune system, they spike your blood pressure.
So they're useful for a minute.
Right. If you do that for 10 minutes to run away from a bear, it saves your life. But you do that for 10 hours a day because you are resentful.
You're just marinating.
You are marinating your organs in acid. It's a slow-motion biological crisis.
So when Trine says hate corrodes the body, he isn't speaking metaphorically.
No.
He means you are literally wearing out your biological hardware.
It is an energy leak. Think about the energy required to maintain a grudge. It is metabolically expensive.
Expensive? I never thought of it that way.
You are burning premium metabolic fuel to keep your body in a state of high alert for a threat that isn't actually there. Trine calls hate expensive to the organism, and he is 100% right.
That is a sobering thought. We worry about wasting money on a bad purchase, but we rarely think about the biological cost of spending 3 hours being angry.
But we are.
We're literally paying with our life force.
And the person you are angry at, they're fine.
Oh, they're having a great day.
They're eating a sandwich, they're sleeping soundly. You are the one drinking the poison and expecting them to die.
Okay, so the cost side of the equation is clear. Anger is inefficient.
Deeply inefficient.
It breaks the machine. Now let's look at the love side. Trine talks about the effects of love. And again, I want to translate this out of the poetic.
Let's make it practical.
What are the tangible results of operating from a place of goodwill?
Efficiency. That is the best word for it. When you operate from a place of goodwill, you get less reactivity.
Less reactivity.
Meaning you are not triggered by every little slight. You get better decision-making because your prefrontal cortex, the thinking brain, stays online.
The red mist doesn't descend.
Exactly. You aren't clouded by the red mist.
So it is a high-performance state.
It is the ultimate high-performance state. It is what athletes call flow, but applied to social interaction.
Interesting.
You get clearer boundaries because you are acting from principle, not defensive emotion. And ultimately, you get steadier relationships.
I want to pause on the boundaries part because this is where people get stuck.
This is the big one.
And this is where I get stuck. When we talk about love and goodwill and not reacting, it creates a fear. The fear is that we are talking about being weak.
The fear of being a doormat.
Yes. Exactly. If I am just radiating goodwill all the time, if I am sending out love waves while someone is screaming at me or taking advantage of me, am I not just enabling them? How do we balance this high-minded concept with the gritty reality of self-preservation?
This is probably the most common misunderstanding of Trine's work, and really of Stoicism, too.
Yeah.
There is this idea that love means submission, that it means nice.
Right. Be nice.
Trine would say absolutely not. For Trine, love is a position of strength, not weakness. In fact, he argues that you cannot truly love if you are weak.
Okay.
Love includes truth, it includes courage, and crucially, it includes boundaries.
But boundaries seem contradictory to the idea of oneness, don't they?
Yeah.
If we're all one, why do I need a wall?
Because you are responsible for your own frequency.
My own frequency.
Think about the architecture of attunement concept we discussed. Love is a tonic that builds a positive neurochemical inflow things like oxytocin and dopamine.
The good stuff.
The good stuff. Fear and conflict are toxins. Now, if someone is trying to feed you toxins, trying to pull you into their drama, their anger, their chaos, is it loving to let them poison you?
No, that would be self-destruction.
And it is not loving to them either because you are enabling their dysfunction.
That's a key point.
Trine references a Persian sage, and I love this quote, who said, "A gentle hand can lead even an elephant by a hair."
A gentle hand can lead even an elephant by a hair. That's a great image. But is it realistic? If an elephant charges me, a hair isn't going to stop it.
Well, the metaphor isn't about stopping a charge. It's about the nature of control. The power isn't in the force of the pull. It is in the connection. If you try to wrestle the elephant, you lose. If you meet anger with anger, you are wrestling the elephant.
You've already lost.
You've lost control. But if you meet anger with a steady, calm, sovereign goodwill, you retain command of the situation.
So true power is self-control.
100%. The moment you lose your temper, the moment you drop into resentment, you have handed your remote control over to the other person.
Ooh.
You are saying, here, take this. You dictate how I feel. You dictate my blood pressure. You dictate my happiness.
And Trine says, no.
He says, no, be a sovereign self. Keep your own atmosphere clear.
I really like that phrasing, keep your own atmosphere clear. It reminds me of the idea that we are the architects of our own internal weather.
We are. And we can choose whether we live in a constant thunderstorm or in a state of clear, productive calm.
Let's take this out of the abstract and get into the mud of daily life,
Right.
because it is easy to be a saint on a mountaintop. It is hard to be a saint in an open plan office.
Very hard.
We have 3 practical areas where this applies: work, relationships, and habits. Let's start with work.
The professional sphere, yes.
We have all been there. Let's create a scenario. You have a colleague. Let's call him Gary.
It's always a Gary.
Gary sends emails that are just slightly passive-aggressive.
Yeah.
He copies your boss on things he shouldn't. He takes credit for your ideas in meetings.
Mm-hmm.
The old way, the reactive way, is pretty standard.
Oh, the old way is bitterness. It is the water cooler gossip. It is the quiet quitting born of resentment.
Yes.
You sit at your desk and you stew. You think, Gary is a snake. I'm going to sabotage him back, or I'm just going to shut down and do the bare minimum.
And based on the boomerang effect we just discussed, who is getting hurt there?
You are. Gary might be annoying, but your bitterness is poisoning your afternoon. You are the one with the tension headache.
Right.
You are the one going home exhausted because you spent 8 hours fighting a mental war. And
Gary's fine.
Gary's probably sleeping fine.
Yeah.
Bitterness poisons the worker, not the boss or the colleague.
So what is the Trine way in that scenario? How do you apply love to a toxic colleague like Gary without just rolling over and letting him steal your credit?
You choose goodwill and professionalism as a power move.
A power move. I like that.
This is crucial. You don't do excellent work for Gary. You don't even do it for the boss. You do excellent work because you are an excellent person. You do it because it aligns with your own standard of reality.
That is a shift. You are decoupling your performance from their validation.
Exactly. You stop the energy leak. You say, I will not allow this person's behavior to degrade my character.
So you still treat him. How?
You treat Gary with politeness. Not because he earned it, but because politeness is your standard. You maintain your cool. Not to please him, but to protect your own nervous system.
It is almost like you are putting up a force field of professionalism.
That's a great way to put it.
His toxicity hits that shield and just slides off because you aren't matching his frequency.
Precisely. And Trine would argue that this often shifts the dynamic.
Yeah.
When you refuse to play the victim or the aggressor, when you just stay in that steady center of power,
Yeah.
people often don't know what to do. They either change their behavior or they just drift away because they can't get a hook in you.
You become untriggerable.
You become untriggerable.
I love that. Goodwill is a power move. It is tactical. Let's talk about the second arena, relationships.
The big one.
This is the big one. Partners, family, close friends.
The stakes are higher here because the emotions are deeper.
The scenario here is the recurring conflict. The dishwasher fight that isn't really about the dishwasher.
Never is.
The old way is usually blame.
Blame is the default setting for the ego. I am unhappy because you did X. If you would just change, I would be at peace.
It's a story.
It is a story where you are the victim and they are the villain.
And we hold on to that story so tightly. We polish it. We rehearse it in the shower.
We do. But Trine argues that we must be centers of power. The Trine way is moving from blame to responsibility and calm truth.
Now, responsibility can sound like it's all my fault.
Right, and that's not it.
Is that what he means?
No, that is martyrdom. Responsibility means I am responsible for my reaction.
Oh.
It means offering what the Buddhist text we referenced calls ungrudging love. This doesn't mean accepting abuse. It means dropping the story of resentment.
So it's about listening.
It means listening without planning your counterattack.
Ungrudging love. That is hard. That requires dropping the ego.
It is very hard. It means you stop waiting for them to change.
You change your side of the equation.
You regulate your own reaction. You offer patience. You offer a calm presence. Trine argues that when you stop pushing against someone, when you stop judging them, you create a space where they can change.
But they might not.
But even if they don't, you have saved yourself from the misery of chronic anger. You have cleaned up your side of the street.
Let's move to the third example, habits. This one is interesting because it is a relationship with the self.
And often the most abusive relationship we have.
So true. The scenario is you fail to meet a goal, you broke your diet, you didn't go to the gym, you procrastinated on that project. The old way is self-flagellation.
The internal drill sergeant. You idiot! You are lazy! You are never going to change.
We think that works.
We think we can shame ourselves into being better. We think if we are mean enough to ourselves, we will finally get disciplined.
But the neuroscience says otherwise, doesn't it?
The neuroscience is very clear. Shame triggers the freeze response.
The freeze response.
When you attack yourself, your brain perceives a threat. It shuts down the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for planning and willpower, and retreats into defense.
So you literally can't think your way out of it.
You cannot hate yourself into a better version of yourself.
So what is the Trine way here?
Self-respect and self-compassion. And again, not in a soft, enabling way,
Right.
but in a structural way. Trine talks about the inflow of power.
Yeah.
If you cut off that inflow with self-hatred, you have no fuel to change.
So instead of I'm an idiot, it is.
It is. Okay, that didn't go as planned. What is the truth here? The truth is I am tired. The truth is I need a better system. I am going to treat myself with the same goodwill I would offer a friend.
And that actually helps you change.
It triggers the growth mindset. It keeps the neuroplasticity pathways open. You can actually learn from the mistake because you aren't busy beating yourself up for it.
That connects back to the idea of the tonic versus the toxin. Self-compassion is a tonic that gives you the energy to try again.
And self-attack is a toxin that paralyzes you.
Precisely.
Okay, we have talked about the philosophy, we have looked at the biology, and we have applied it to work, relationships, and habits. Now, I want to give our listeners something they can do right now.
A practical application.
We are calling this the Goodwill Power Reset.
This is a way to take this big abstract concept of universal love and turn it into a 5-minute mental hygiene practice.
I am going to walk us through the steps, and I want you to explain the mechanics of why we are doing each one.
Let's do it.
The first step is to identify one relationship or situation where you feel friction. Visualize the person or the specific stressor.
Why start there?
This is about targeting. You cannot heal a vague feeling. You need to locate the specific energy leak. Is it your brother? Is it that email in your inbox? You have to bring it into focus.
Next, name the reactive story you keep repeating. For example, they don't respect me, or this is unfair.
This is crucial. We're separating the fact from the story. The fact is they didn't call. The story is they don't respect me.
And the story is the poison.
The story is what generates the resentment. You have to name it to tame it.
Then choose one love-based principle to hold today. Pick from goodwill, honesty, patience, or courage.
This is the pivot. You are switching from a reactive state to a creative state. You are choosing your frequency.
You're taking control.
Instead of matching their disrespect, you are choosing your own principle. I choose patience. I choose courage. You are reclaiming your sovereignty.
After that, choose one clean boundary that protects the principle. For example, I will not engage in arguments after 9 in the evening, or I will speak calmly even if they yell.
This is the engineering part. Principles need protection. If you choose peace, You need a boundary that protects that peace. I will not check email after dinner.
That's a boundary that serves love.
Love for yourself and your family. Exactly.
Then choose one small outward act that proves it. A kind word, a completed task, a moment of listening.
Action seals the deal. It moves the concept from your head to your hands.
Right.
Trine emphasizes that love is a force. It must move. Even a tiny action, smiling at the cashier, sending a thank you note, proves to your nervous system that you are back in the driver's seat.
And finally, release one resentment action. Explicitly drop a habit like gossip, rumination, or the silent punishment.
This is stopping the leak. You have to consciously say, I am done carrying this rock. The silent treatment is a classic resentment action.
And it feels so powerful, but it's really not.
It feels powerful, but it's just poison. Dropping it frees you as much as it frees them.
I love that. It is a complete system. You identify the leak, you choose a new frequency, you set a boundary, and you take action.
Very practical.
It is very practical. But even with a great exercise like that, people stumble.
Oh, always.
What usually trips people up when they try to switch from this reactive mindset to a love-based mindset?
There are a handful of common traps I see all the time.
Let's run through them. What is the first one?
The first mistake is confusing love with enabling bad behavior.
We touched on this.
We did, but it bears repeating. People think, if I'm loving, I have to say yes to everything.
And the things for that?
Remember that love includes truth. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is say no, clearly and calmly. A parent who gives a child endless candy isn't loving. They are enabling.
Right.
Love looks out for the long-term good.
What is the second mistake?
Expecting the other person to change immediately, you think, okay, I was nice to them. Why are they still being a jerk?
That is the transactional trap. I put a coin in, I want my candy out.
Exactly. The fix is to realize you are building your own peace, not manipulating theirs.
As are you.
You do it for you. If they change, great. If not, you are still stable.
The third mistake.
Thinking love is just a feeling or emotion. Waiting to feel loving before you act.
But feelings are so fickle. If I wait until I feel like being patient, I will never be patient.
Extremely fickle. The fix is to view love as a discipline or a will.
A muscle.
It is a muscle you flex. You don't go to the gym only when you feel like lifting heavy things. You go because you want to be strong. You choose goodwill, especially when you don't feel like it.
That's where the growth is.
That is when the real training happens.
Mistake number 4.
Neglecting self-love while trying to serve others. The martyr complex.
I'll just suffer so everyone else is happy.
Right. And Trine is very clear on the inflow concept. You cannot pour from an empty cup. If you are depleted, your love becomes bitter and resentful.
The fix is.
The fix is self-care, not as a luxury, but as maintenance of the machine. You have to keep the channel open.
And the final one, mistake number 5.
Using spiritual bypass to ignore real problems.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, everything is love and light. I don't need to deal with that unpaid bill or that abusive situation.
Ignoring reality in the name of spirituality.
Exactly. The fix is to use love to face problems directly, not to hide from them. Love is a light. It reveals things. It doesn't hide them in the shadows.
Those are crucial distinctions. I think a lot of us fall into the waiting to feel it trap. We treat love like the weather, hope it's sunny today, instead of treating it like the thermostat, which we can set.
That is the perfect analogy. Be the thermostat, not the thermometer.
Let's bring this all home. We have covered a lot of ground today,
Yeah.
from 19th century metaphysics to modern neurobiology. Let's recap the key takeaways for the listener to carry with them.
Let's distill it down.
First point, love is a real power, defined as goodwill, inner harmony, and steady strength.
It is a structural force, not just a sentiment.
Second point, it acts as a shield against the poison of resentment and the physical drain of anger.
It protects your biology from the wear and tear of stress.
Third point, the effects of love are practical. Less reactivity, better choices, and clearer boundaries.
It makes you more efficient and effective in the real world.
Fourth point, hatred and ill will are energy leaks that harm the sender more than the receiver.
The boomerang effect. You hurt yourself first.
Fifth point, applying goodwill at work means choosing professionalism over bitterness.
Excellence is your standard, regardless of the environment.
Sixth point, in relationships, it means moving from blame to responsibility and calm truth.
Being a center of power rather than a victim of circumstance.
And the final point, true love is not weakness. It requires the courage to maintain clean intentions and self-respect.
A gentle hand can lead the elephant. Power is in control, not force.
This has been a really illuminating session. I think for me, the biggest shift is seeing love as a power move.
Mm.
It changes the whole game. It takes it out of the realm of being nice and into the realm of being powerful.
It does. It shifts the center of gravity back to you.
We are going to continue this exploration in our next session. We are moving from the foundation of goodwill to something even more subtle.
Yes.
The next one is titled Wisdom and Interior Illumination.
This is where it gets really interesting. Once you have stopped the noise of anger and resentment, which is what today was about, you create a silence.
Right.
And in that silence, you can start to hear something else. We are going to talk about intuition, how to trust the voice inside once the static is gone.
I can't wait for that. It feels like the natural next step. You have to clear the storm before you can see the stars.
That is it, exactly. And I want to leave you with this thought. You are the architect of your own atmosphere.
Mm.
By choosing love, you are choosing to live in a state of power rather than a state of reaction. It is the ultimate act of self-sovereignty.
Beautifully said. Thanks for being here. If you want the full series, check the playlist, and please like and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode.